died.
Hugh Jackman is one of the most famous faces on the planet.
Well, he's the Hollywood Mr. Nice Guy, isn't he? He's great with the fans, and that's exactly how it should be.
Peoples of Leicester Square, this is the moment we've been waiting for. He is the reason we are all here today. Mr. Hugh Jackman!
And just out of reach of the cameras, but always by his side, is his wife, actress and humanitarian Deborah Lee Furness.
Just another day at the office.
And what I love about this is, you know, so much of what we do in show business is business. This is the show. It's done. So it's kind of a nice feeling.
Go talk to your fans.
I've got to run.
We're going to come right here, Hugh.
Bye, Australia.
These days, The Boy from Oz commands up to $20 million a film.
Try and cut that up. Nice.
And the celebrity storm just keeps getting bigger.
I mean, how do you get used to it?
But Deborah Lee has always marched to her own tune. This is the story of a woman who knows from experience that family must always come first.
Both of us understand the idea of not coming from the complete nuclear family, and that really love wins out in the end.
And this understanding has taken them a long way from the red carpet.
Do you want to see where we're going to today?
Where are we going to go? We're going to
Mummy and flying here in New York, all the way down here to Ethiopia.
With Deb at the helm, they've gone on an extraordinary journey
Deborah.
that is now changing government policy and attitudes to adoption around the world.
When I think of a child having not one individual to have their back to care for them, it's heartbreaking. So I can't just sit there knowing that and not do anything about it.
I think the thing I've learned most from Deb was it was something I was always taught and always learned, but for Deb, it's just completely from her heart. She is the most heart-led person I have ever met. I mean, incredibly smart and witty and all of that, with incredible wisdom, but the heart leads.
Whereas I can never find anything. Bag, bag, bag. I went out last night.
It's a typical weekday morning in the Furness Jackman household.
How can I lose things? Okay, got that.
With Hugh away filming, it's up to Deborah Lee to get the kids to school before getting down to work.
Ava, let's go.
Home is New York City.
A lot of Hugh's work is in America. We had to choose a place that was going to work for us, you know, so that we could stay together. And, you know, New York is kind of like my other home. What people don't know is I went to college in New York, so I feel like my kid grew up as this chubby little curly-haired girl from Melbourne, but my adult is a sassy New Yorker. 150. Where's the other one? Okay. Oh, look in here. Let's go. It's this huge city, and I can walk down the street and I know the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Morning! It's a cocktail party going to school in the morning. Hi, darling. Thanks for yesterday. And no matter who you are, you fit in. Yeah, well, this is Oscar's dog, and we're going to maybe get a golden retriever, Ava?
Even in a city the size of the Big Apple, and on a school day, there's no escaping the paparazzi.
For the longest time, we've really worked hard as a family to not let the celebrity affect us. But there comes a point when you realize that you are being watched. Ava, there's no cupcakes. Oh no, not cupcakes this morning. It's unnerving and it takes getting used to living under that sort of spotlight. Come on. But, you know, the reality is, you know, it's there because of our work as actors. So get on with it. Just deal with it.
And as one of Hollywood's biggest actors, Hugh's work constantly takes him away filming.
Run!
But no matter how in demand he is, the family's golden rule is never to spend more than 2 weeks apart, and always try and get home for the weekend.
Whatever time he wraps, we'll get him to the airport and on a plane as quickly as possible, so I'll go straight from set to the airport.
Here in the apartment, it's the job of best friend and executive assistant Irving to make it all happen.
No, you book him a ticket on the next available flight. Whatever that is. Even if it's a business class flight and there are no business class seats, then you book him economy and Dave economy. They have unbelievably busy lives. Yet the commitment is to still spend as much quality time with the children as humanly possible. And they probably do that as much, if not more, than any other parent. Yes, but he still wants to get home as quickly as possible, okay? That's why Hugh comes back every weekend. The kids come first. All the time, every time.
This weekend is no exception. And Saturday is fully booked with a big party to go to. But it's not the A-list celebrity event you might expect. Instead, they're taking the kids to a friend's bar mitzvah.
Family is first. Family is important. That's your foundation from which you can grow out.
Born in Sydney, Australia, Hugh was the youngest son of British migrants. He was just 8 when his mum returned to England to live. It fell to Hugh's father, an accountant with Price Waterhouse, to hold the family together.
I grew up with my father, working full-time, a lot, travelling a lot, and having 5 children to look after for a lot of his life. So there was a good 10 or 15 years in there where I don't think he had a moment to himself. Now, I get moments to myself. I'm more selfish and...
You had a good role model, really. He looked after 5 kids and worked.
Yeah.
And, you know...
You know, and we had...
made sure you had the camping trips.
Yeah, I mean, even his holidays was camping in a 5-man tent with 5 kids. I mean, it wasn't Club Med, you know. I mean, the poor guy. I think he must have been desperate to get back to work.
Hugh grew up emulating his father's work ethic and discipline. The aspiring actor was 26 when his stars aligned. He got a breakout role in his very first acting job, and that's where he met the love of his life.
We're off to see the psych, let's go.
This is incredibly cliched. It's my first job and I fall in love with a leading lady.
Good morning.
Good morning. Send him in.
Deborah Lee Furness was 39 and the established star of the show, and she wasn't looking for romance.
Do I excite you?
I was so busy, believe me, I had my head down because it was a prison drama. And all these guys did were grunt at me, so I had all the dialogue. I was at home every night learning dialogue and structure. It's normal to feel frustrated in a place like this. There'd be something wrong if you didn't. So I didn't have time to even think beyond just going to work. But I noticed myself when Hugh wasn't in the scene that day, I was like, oh, Hugh's not here, and I was sort of disappointed.
They soon discovered they had a lot in common. Deb, too, had grown up in a single-parent family with a strong role model.
My mother was a working mother, so I grew up in, you know, what seemed like men were in charge, but in my world, women were the strong ones because I saw my mom as the breadwinner. So I had a different experience. I just thought, you know, women run the show.
I look at Deb particularly and say I certainly did something right.
Faye now heads up one of Australia's largest cancer foundations. But back in the 50s, being a single mum wasn't easy. And Faye would make the heartbreaking decision to place her young daughter in someone else's care.
And that was my hard decision when I had to put her in boarding school at the age of 5. It was a matter of I had to go to work to give her a better life. So I put her in a safe place. It was. I was sad. I mean, I remember I left her at the convent and I came home in the train and all I did was cry.
I think I was the youngest in the school, so, you know, you're sort of, you know, you're out there on your own as a 5-year-old, and I was in the country of Dalesford, and it was all the nuns, so I thought all women wore black and white.
Now a mum herself, whose pastimes include painting her kids' portraits, Deb understands how hard those few years apart were for her mum.
My kids go out for a weekend, and I miss them, you know? So, you know, there's tough calls.
I was always pretty confident that she would grow up pretty well. I think love is the most important thing. She knew that no matter what she did, and no matter how bad, it'd be always okay. It's good to look back on all those things. Yeah. And there, Corelli, you can almost feel it when you see the photos of Corelli.
I watch you every morning when you come into this yard. Your eyes searching on the first person that you look for.
It's like the best dance I ever did when we worked together. It was just, he was thrilling to work with. There was just a, you know, when you meet someone you can dance with, we just knew how to move together. And it was so, you know, wonderful. Well, anyone falling in love is wonderful.
Weirdly, I am the most indecisive person in the world, but when I met Deb, I've never known anything as 100% that we were meant to be together. So that was it. When you fall in love, you fall in love.
Her heart says yes, her head says no.
She had a few reservations.
That was my New Year's resolution. I'm not dating any actors, definitely not any young ones. Hello, meet my husband. Like I didn't listen to myself.
In April 1996, just a year after their romance began, Deb and Hugh were married. Hugh now became part of an eclectic extended family that Deb had been gathering since childhood, including best friend Irving, who's been there from the start.
What do you think about these ones, Irv?
I think they're fantastic. The only
Too
thing
big to carry?
Yeah, well, not only too big to carry, they'll last 5 minutes.
I know. And then who's going to clean up the mess?
Yeah, not me. Except for my mother and father and sister, I've known Deborah Lee longer than anybody else alive. Like brother and sister. Yes, and exactly, we do exactly that as brother and sister. We love each other to bits, but then we have our moments.
Irving actually came over to New York to visit for a couple of weeks. That was about 5 years ago.
They've been trying to get rid of me ever since, and I refuse to leave. I like the apartment too much. I'm not leaving.
Look at those blossoms.
Yeah, they didn't last last week. They lasted a minute.
So we'll have a good time for a minute.
All right. It's like living in an extended family, and that's what it basically is.
And right from the start, as newlyweds in Australia, Deb and Hugh always planned to grow their family with natural and adopted kids.
They always said they wanted to have lots of children, and of course they tried and they had a couple of miscarriages, unfortunately.
People don't realise that we were always going to adopt. You know, that was always the plan.
But they immediately hit a brick wall. Like so many others, they hadn't realised that Australian laws made adoption almost impossible, with waiting lists of up to 10 years long, if they were lucky.
First thing this woman said to Deb and I said, don't think because you're famous you're going to get special treatment. And by the way, I don't think, I mean, you were famous, I was not famous, but, and I remember kind of going, wow, hi, nice to meet you.
Negative.
It was very, that was literally the first thing out of her mouth.
It was 1998, and Australia was still coming to terms with the shame of its past. A sordid history of authorities forcing unwilling mothers to give up their children had made adoption a dirty word.
You're talking to people that are going to give a child a home, and the woman that spoke to us is like, you know, we were potential bank robbers.
If we hadn't already had our mind and heart set on it, we probably would have walked out and never
which is what a lot of people do, walk away.
Hugh was only just beginning to make a name for himself in Australia as an actor and star of musical theatre.
Plenty of conflict,
But it was Deb's early career in America as a student and actor that was about to help them in an unexpected way.
When we couldn't adopt in Australia, Deb had a green card, and so we explored that avenue in America, which was a lot more
Facilitated
inviting.
beautifully and supportive and loving, how the experience should be.
It allowed them to escape the judgment of the Australian system, and within 9 months of applying, Deb and Hugh were approved as adopting parents. Not only that, adopting in America meant they could be there at the birth.
It was just the most exciting time of our life. I was at the hospital and in the waiting room with other expectant grandparents and parents, and Deb comes running down the corridor, closely followed by Hugh, and says, "I've just had a boy." And everybody looked as much. She's running around, just had a boy. And I had to explain she's just adopted a little child.
But I'll never forget the day Oscar was born.
He was this child, this is his destiny, and we found each other, and it's a huge moment. It's a huge moment.
You'll see a photo of Deb and Hugh and me in Los Angeles with the baby. We're all fighting to hold the basket. We used to fight who's going to feed him.
It's a double-edged sword. It is someone else's great loss, and it is a great joy for you. But I'm a big believer in destiny, that, you know, we choose our journeys when we come in and choose our parents. Some just different, it's just, you know, not conventional. Adoption is a different way. But it's a destiny and it's a reality, so we have to make it work for all parties.
And just 4 years after Oscar, Deb and Hugh were parents again when they adopted their daughter, Ava.
I remember Oscar saying, "I've waited my whole life for this." I have to keep reminding that as he pummels his sister these days. Becoming parents, and you don't realise what's involved, the lack of sleep, and, you know, and then what really shows up, okay, which is for any parents, biological or adopted, is your different parenting styles.
Which you have to work through.
Yeah, which you have to work through. I remember the first time we were at the airport and I saw a little plane and I bought it for Oscar. He was just a baby. And Hugh said, "What did you buy that for him for?" And I said, "Because he wanted it." And he said, "He's have to learn. He can't get everything he wants." And I went, "What a concept."
By the way, I was dragging an entire suitcase full of toys for about a 1.5 hour flight.
America had fulfilled Deb and Hugh's greatest dream of becoming parents. Now Hollywood would deliver a very different dream.
We will accept your surrender with respect.
Is that all the men you brought? You haven't strapped curtains long enough.
What kind of monster are you?
The Wolverine.
Hugh, a Hollywood unknown, won a leading role in Marvel's new X-Men franchise.
Will you please welcome the one and only Hugh Jackman?
Overnight, he was a megastar.
Check it out. There's got to be something. You know you've made it in this biz when you get your own action figure.
Exactly.
Huh?
Looks nothing like me, does it? Where's the camera? Nothing.
There you go.
Oscar was X-Men 1 and Ava was X-Men 3. That's how we remember our children's births.
But Deb and Hugh's golden rule, never to spend more than 2 weeks apart, made them a celebrity family with a difference. No matter where in the world their movie work took them, they always travelled together.
Deborah is not the slightest bit selfish, and she'd had a lot of films and done a lot of things, and it was his turn now.
To me, home is the four of us being together, and we were all, the rest is geography.
A lucky happenstance happened around when Oscar was 7 or 8, Ava was 1 or 2. You had Jindabyne, and then I did the film Australia, and then Wolverine. We were home for like a 2-year period.
What the hell are you two playing at?
And it wasn't until they were back in Australia in 2006 that Deb realised just how remarkable their family unit was. She and Hugh had become one of the few Australian couples who'd found a way to adopt.
Remember, people would come up to us and say, you know, because we were high profile, and they go, you know, they knew we had adopted kids, so we'd love to adopt, it's just so hard. And that's why I kept saying, well, why is it so hard? That's really the question. It was like, why is it so hard? And then we launched into asking the question, and we're getting shut down.
For Deb, that question became even more urgent when she and Hugh travelled to Africa as World Vision ambassadors.
Going to Ethiopia, when you're actually in something and you see it, and when you see the enormity of the situation, when you see starving children, it's shocking. They wake up in the morning and basically the agenda for the day is just to get food.
Here, the full tragedy of Australia's adoption laws really hit home. Couples desperate to adopt were being blocked from children who desperately needed new families and homes.
What do you do? You're a tough guy.
There are kids out there who are not getting the support they need. 150 million kids who are living in orphanages or they are on the street. If these laws are going to be so restrictive, what's going to happen to these 150 million kids? They miss out. They are developmentally miles behind and basically never have a chance to reach their full potential. For Deb, she could not move on. She saw something, a need. There was no moving on.
So when Deb read an article about Australian parents being prevented from adopting, there was no holding her back.
The entire story of the organisation that Deb started really was just led from her heart, just reading this article.
I saw this story about a Chinese woman that had found a baby in China. She adopted the child while she's in China. She's Australian. She was trying to bring the child back and she couldn't bring the child back into the country. And I just thought it was such an injustice. So I rang the newspaper. Next thing, we get the front cover of the paper and the editor backed me and said, we want to back Deborah on her campaign and her action lobby group. And I was like, and where would they be?
So in 2007, Deb started her own organisation to change Australian adoption laws.
Deborah Lee Furness launched National Adoption Awareness Week.
And before she knew it, Deb was campaigning at Parliament House.
I'm here to speak to you today about orphaned, abandoned and vulnerable children and adoption, the A word. It had never had a voice before in Australia, adoption. People didn't talk about it. We're calling on the government to join forces and put vulnerable children first.
It's taken Deb 6 years of hard work, but in December 2013, the Australian government finally turned a corner in history and committed itself to adoption reform.
What a glorious day! As I walked up with the family, it just suddenly registered that this is huge, that this is a momentous moment.
For too long, it has been too hard to adopt, and for too long, this has been a policy no-go zone, and that must change.
I just want to savour this moment.
Massive for me. I was emotional watching you speak. To see the dam burst and all to come down and be here at Kirribilli House is extraordinary. I'm so proud of Deb.
It was so nice to share this moment with you and the kids. To have them there with me was great.
Today in New York, Deborah Lee has her sights on a new goal. Not content with her Australian triumph, she's made her home the headquarters for a global adoption campaign.
So, Lauren, we're going to send those ambassador letters out so we can start getting our ambassadors on board. So there is dear Mr. Clinton.
With Hugh hard at work on his next multi-million-dollar blockbuster, Deb is taking the fight all the way to the United Nations.
I'm not surprised that she's having the impact she's having. And if you know her mum at all, too, you'll know that it's sort of in the genes. This is a formidable family who somehow change the world and make everyone happy about it.
Well, we work as a family. Everything we do, we all go for the ride. We all go on Hugh's ride, we all go on my ride. And the kids, we work as a family, work as a team.
Weekends together at home are always precious. But tonight, the family has thrown open its doors. They're having a celebration to honour Deb's mum's achievements in revolutionising cancer treatments around the world.
Welcome to our home, and thank you for coming along tonight to share in the honour of honouring my mother, Faye Duncan. Where are you, Mum?
Both Deb and Hugh are unbelievably grounded, normal people for what they do. It's incredible. And you can't help but admire it.
I have the greatest mother-in-law in the world. I really do. She's an amazing woman.
I think we learn everything from our parents. The good, the bad and the ugly, right, Mum?
But there's only good with me.
Only good, yeah.
We dedicate our marriage to just that idea of service. We both love what we do work-wise, and that helps.
And we're both sort of A-type personalities that we like to be on the go and, you know, multitasking and doing it all. We hate to think we're going to miss out on a party.
Next on Family Confidential.
We had this beautiful girl and everybody was after her.
Miranda Kerr seems to have the fantasy life every teenage girl dreams of.
Smile.
There's a lot of extreme highs and extreme lows in our family. We all look after each other in a way. You know, that's what's really special about our family.
Knowing what I know now, I wish she was just a normal, everyday girl. I really do.